Okay, it's 9:30. I'll call the meeting to order and look for my clerk for roll call. Jen?
Thank you, Worship. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the March 17th Special Council Meeting. I'm Jennifer Connor, Clerk of Ramara Township. I'll begin with roll call of council. Mayor Clark.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Present.
Councillor Snatch.
Present.
Councillor Fisher.
Present.
Councillor Tuyu.
Present.
Councillor Goff.
Present.
Councillor Bell.
Present.
Thank you.
This meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Ramara YouTube channel. Be advised that by attending a public meeting of the Council of the Township of Ramara, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and will form a part of the public record. The chair, CAO, and/or clerk have the discretion and authority to terminate or interrupt the live streaming in exceptional circumstances where the content of debate is considered inappropriate to be published. Thank you.
Okay, I'll look for a motion that the agenda dated March 17th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Questions on the agenda? Pretty straightforward. All in favor? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The agenda is carried. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest?
Public meeting. What did I miss?
So do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest in any member of council? I don't believe so. So we're into the public meeting now. So I'll open the public meeting. And once again, I have to ask if there's a disclosure of pecuniary interest. Not seeing any. So as required under the Planning Act and pursuant to council policy, council is holding a public meetings to deal with two planning proposals: zoning bylaw amendment, file Z7/24, 2237 Concession Road 10. The second one is zoning bylaw amendment, file Z1/25, 99 Simcoe Road. The purpose of this meeting is to inform and provide the public and members of council with an opportunity to ask questions and express views with respect to the proposal. Council will consider all comments and submissions received, and staff will work in an attempt to resolve the outstanding concerns, if any. Staff from the planning department are present and will be writing down any comments. Council will consider all comments and submissions received, and staff will work in an attempt to resolve the outstanding concerns, if any. Staff from the planning department are present and will be writing down any comments. The clerk will now advise on the manner of giving notice and give an explanation of the proposed amendment, and we will begin with file number Z7/24, 2237 Concession Road 10. Go ahead, Jen.
Thank you, Your Worship. A notice of public meeting and complete application for this application was sent to all appropriate property owners and agencies on February 6, 2025, and a sign was posted on the property in accordance with provincial regulations. Comments of no concern and no objection were received from the township's fire, building and infrastructure departments, Enbridge Gas, and from Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. The County of Simcoe provided comments advising no access will be approved from the county road on the subject property. No written concerns were received with respect to the proposal from any residents or property owners. The amendment will have the effect of providing a site-specific special provision in the agricultural zone on the subject property to allow for the continuation of existing uses as a condition of consent. The amendment will also permit a decrease in the minimum lot frontage on the subject property and allow for an increase in maximum lot area for an agricultural property not accessory to an agricultural use. Concurrent consent file B15/24 was granted provisional approval by the Committee of Adjustment on December 3rd, 2024 to sever the subject property from the lands designated agriculture on the retained. The zoning bylaw amendment is a condition of that provisional approval.
Thank you. And now David Scarcellon from Morgan Planning and Development, Inc., on behalf of Derek Patrick, is present and will provide an overview of the application. Go ahead, David.
Good morning, Your Worship and Council. I'm David Scarcelloni, Junior Planner with Morgan Planning and Development, here on behalf of our client, Derek Patrick, for his planning needs pertaining to 2237 Concession Road 10 and application Z-7-24. As previously mentioned, we were asked to submit and prepare this implementing zoning bylaw amendment application as a condition of approval to consent file B-15-24. Next slide, please. So moving out in scope, here is a aerial imagery of the subject lands on the current property subject to a zoning bylaw amendment. Located at around the southwest corner of the intersection between Concession Road 10 and County Road 169. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So the site description of the lands on the property subject to the zoning bylaw amendment. As previously mentioned, it's located on the southwest corner of Concession Road 10 and County Road 169. The lot area of the severed parcel is proposed to be approximately 4.05 hectares. The lot frontage will be 21.7 onto County Road 10, and it will have 173.9 meters of frontage on the County Road 169. The lands are entirely located to be severed within the Udney settlement area, and the property to be severed is currently developed with a single detached dwelling, accessory building, detached accessory structure, and is serviced by private well and septic. To the north, there's residential lots within the Udney settlement area. To the east, there's agricultural land. And south and west, the land is also used agriculturally. Next slide, please. Currently, the subject property is zoned agricultural and designated hamlet. And in the county OP, it's designated settlements. Next slide, please. Moving on to the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment. Consent application B-15-24 was conditionally approved by the Township's Committee of Adjustment on December 3rd, 2024. Condition number 4 of the notice of decision requires that the owner and owner applicant successfully obtain a zoning bylaw amendment for the severed lands to address the existing uses, lot frontage, maximum lot area to the satisfaction of the Township of Ramara. The application seeks to rezone from agricultural to agricultural special policy, Ag XX, on a portion of the lands to be severed, which are wholly contained within the Udney settlement area. The zoning bylaw amendment will address the maximum lot area, increasing the provision from the printed 0.809 hectares to 4.057 hectares. It will address the minimum lot frontage, decreasing the provision from the required 45 meters to 21 meters. As well, it will address the current and permitted uses on the lands, which, as previously mentioned, include a detached dwelling, a chip truck eating establishment, several small accessory buildings, gravel parking area, and grass with picnic tables, detached storage barn, and firewood sales. Next slide, please. Moving on to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment schedule. This zone will include all the updates mentioned in the previous slide and will be applicable to the part of the property in the gray color on the screen. Moving on to the next slide. Concurrently to this application, a planning justification report has been prepared and submitted in support of the zoning bylaw amendment application. The report addresses all required policies as noted here. Has been submitted with the application addressing the PPS, the County of Simcoe official plan, the Township of Ramara official plan, and the Township of Ramara zoning bylaw. Next slide. So to conclude, the application proposes to rezone the severed parcel, amending the current zoning from agricultural AG to agricultural special policy AG XX. The zoning bylaw amendment will address and allow for the continuation of the existing uses, permitted decrease in the minimum lot frontage, and an increase in the maximum allowable lot area. The lands are entirely contained within the Udney settlement area, and the application is consistent and conforms to the applicable planning policies. And it's also worth mentioning that Morgan Planning and Development supports staff recommendation on this file to wait until the exact area is confirmed by way of survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scarsaloni. And now Jennifer Strong, Township Planner, will provide the background of the planning process to date.
Morning, everyone. So this is for a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment file Z724. Up on the screen shows where the subject property is located, showing it's at the corner in Udney there at Concession Road 10 and County Road 169. And the area shows the part of the property that is subject to the amendment. So as David had mentioned, this is a concurrent application to the severance application that was approved by the Committee of Adjustment in December of last year. Basically just separates the agriculturally designated portion of the lands from the settlement area portion of the lands. The zoning bylaw is written in such a way that will allow for the existing uses to continue on the land, which include the detached dwelling, eating establishment located within the existing building on the date of the passing of the zoning bylaw, the storage barn and firewood sales, business including storage and processing and sale of firewood. Will also permit additional accessory uses to the permitted uses and additional residential units, and address the existing lot area that is to be severed, as well as the existing minimum lot frontage. The application was deemed complete on January 27th, 2025, and a notice of complete application and public meeting were circulated on February 6th. No comments of concern were received from any agency. LSRCA also had no concerns, and they were part of the review of the consent process as well. And County of Simcoe noted that no new entrances will be permitted on County Road 169, noting there is an existing entrance that is on the subject property, and no comments were received from the public. The current use, as David explained, is the detached dwelling, the eating establishment known as Peggy's Chip Truck locally, the storage barn with no livestock, and firewood sales, storage, and processing. The lands are designated settlement in the County of Simcoe official plan, designated hamlet in the Township of Ramara official plan, and is within the hamlet of Udney. The retained lands are zoned, or sorry, the property is also zoned currently agriculture in the zoning bylaw. So there's a little bit of a disconnect between the zoning and the official plan designation. So report BPO 625 reviews the planning policy and also touches on the planning justification brief that was supporting the application. Both the applicant and the municipality are in support of the application. It has regard for matters of provincial interest, is consistent with the provincial planning statement, doesn't conflict with the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan, and has demonstrated conformity with the County of Simcoe official plan, Township of Ramara official plan, and zoning bylaw. The point of the consent was to separate the house from the agricultural land. And when it first came in, we were sort of discussing separating off just the house. As we just continued to discuss with Morgan Planning, it was deemed better to actually separate the exact settlement area. So it sort of holds that settlement area in a large piece so that in the future it can be redeveloped appropriately, instead of kind of creating this sort of disconnected settlement area that has some agricultural. So the amendment will essentially place the property on hold, allowing the existing uses to continue. And then that way, when it gets developed in the future, it's developed appropriately. So the next steps would be that the property owner has asked for some additional time to confirm the land area. There was a little bit of snow this year, so it delayed some surveying efforts. So the idea is in the spring, once the snow is melted, they will confirm the land area, and then we will return the application to council for consideration. That's all.
Thank you. The public will now have an opportunity to speak. When providing your comments, please ensure you state your full name and address for the record. Anybody want to come up? I'll get you to step aside, David, and we'll see if anybody wants to come up on this application. Not seeing any, so now all questions from council. Councillor Snutch.
Yeah, the question, and I don't think anybody will be able to answer it today. I'm concerned with the amount of soil that's been brought in to the property. Now, I don't know from.
Yeah, I think the soil's on a neighboring
Oh,
property.
sorry. Okay. No, but I can't tell from the road. No, I can't tell from when I was on the road looking in where the soil is and where it should be and where that soil came from. And I'm just trying to get clarification from staff that everything's okay. If we have to address something, we should be addressing it
Is there any,
before the final meeting.
yeah, is there any soil on this property, Jen? Can you tell?
So I believe the soil in question is the soil that's on the neighboring parcels that were created by consent. There was a cut and fill permit through the Conservation Authority because those lots are within the floodplain. So I believe that they are on that property, not on this property, but we can certainly reach out to the
I would just
Conservation
like
Authority.
confirmation that it's not on the property that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And so I guess, is it the same owners for both properties?
We can't actually disclose who
Okay,
owns properties.
that's fine.
Sorry.
That's fine. It's just some clarification that everything's okay, and then we're.
Yeah, we can look into the details of the fill permit on the adjacent land to ensure that it doesn't impact this land negatively.
And if anything's going to be done here, then the fill permits must apply, right? If they ever go to develop this. and they need to bring in soil. Are fill permits still applicable?
It does depend on what type of development. So fill permits and site alteration are more for bringing in fill outside of a Planning Act application. If there were to be a plan of subdivision on this property in the future, they would go through the plan of subdivision process, and any types of fill or site alteration would be reviewed through the engineering of that process. Now, if they wanted to do an importation of fill outside of something along those lines, then yes, they would be subject to the fill permit.
Okay, so if you can just look into it, that'd be great.
Sure.
Perfect. Any other questions? Not seeing any. So if any person wishes to receive notice of the passing of the amendment, please forward your address and phone number by email to the Township Planning Department at planning@ramara.ca or complete the sign-in sheet at the door. If you do not provide your full address, you may not receive notice. The township is the approval authority for the zoning bylaw amendment applications. Members of the public who have provided oral or written submissions with respect to the application may be eligible to appeal or participate in an appeal of a decision by the council of the Township of Ramara. This concludes the first public meeting, and any comments from the public or council, if noted, will now be considered before making the final decision on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Have a good day.
So next, we move on to the second public meeting regarding zoning bylaw amendment file Z1/25 at 99 Simcoe Road. Madam Clerk, will you please advise on the manner of giving notice and give an explanation of the proposed amendment?
Thank you, Your Worship. Notice of this public meeting and complete application for this application was sent to all appropriate property owners and agencies on February 20th, 2025, and a sign was posted on the property in accordance with provincial regulations. Comments of no concerns were received from the township's fire and building departments and Enbridge Gas. The township's infrastructure departments confirmed staff have worked with the applicant to ensure the entrances proposed meet the township's entrance bylaw and noted that a functional servicing report will be acquired at the time of building permit. Sufficient capacity for water and wastewater exists. However, improvements to the municipal connections may be required and will be done at the cost of the developer. The Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority provided comments of no objection to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Written letters of objection were received from property owners Scott and Wendy Prinz of 103 Simcoe Road and David and Ann Sparrow of 107 Simcoe Road. The amendment will have the effect of permitting a three-unit street fronting townhome on the subject property.
Thank you. Jennifer Stone, Township Planner, will provide the background of the planning process to date.
Okay, morning again. So this is the public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment application file Z1/25. The subject property is 99 Simcoe Road, which is east of the intersection of Simcoe Road and Laguna Parkway within the Lagoon City settlement area. The property is lot 4 on plan M451, which was registered in August 30th, 1990, which I believe is known as the Concord Woods Plan of Subdivision. The property has 30 meters of frontage on Simcoe Road and is approximately 0.61 acres in land area. Most of this plan M451 has actually been deregistered with the Ontario Land Tribunal Settlement Area Adjustment of Lagoon City, but the lots that sort of front upon Simcoe Road there have all been maintained. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to amend the current VR6 zoning, which only permits a detached dwelling, private docking facilities, and uses accessory to permitted uses, to allow for townhouse multiple dwellings, which would be 3 or more units. And in this case, it's for 3 units, additional residential units, and uses accessory to permitted uses. Up on the screen in front of you is sort of the front elevation of the proposed 3-unit street fronting townhome. And this is showing the site plan, north being to the right, with Simcoe Road showing the 3 different units. And then the hatch lines sort of show those parcels that will be created through a future part lot control exemption bylaw to separate the properties. On the top and bottom, you see a 4.5 meter interior side yard setback. And on the north side of the house, you do see 4 parking spaces available in the front. The application was deemed complete on February 18th, 2025. Notice of public meeting and complete application was circulated on February 20th, and a sign was posted on the subject property. Comments from circulation, the township building, fire, and Enbridge gas all had no concerns. LSRCA had no objections. The infrastructure department confirmed that the entrances meet the bylaw and also noted that a functional servicing review will be required at building permit stage. There is sufficient capacity, but new connections will be required likely at each lot, so that cost is borne on the developer. Scott and Wendy Prins, who are purchasers of 103 Simcoe Road, submitted comments of objection. Their concerns included character of the neighborhood, parking space requirements, noise, pollution, privacy, lot coverage, ownership and rental style, height, and building materials. Other possible variances, snow storage, and concerns regarding transparency of circulation. David and Ann Sparrow, owners of 107 Simcoe Road, also submitted comments of objection. Their concerns include negative impacts on property values, traffic congestion, impacts to character, and impacts to walkability, privacy, noise, and urbanization. The clerk also received comments this morning, I think at about 20 after 9, sorry, I'm just going to read off my phone here, from Leonard Shear from 91 Simcoe Road. It says, to all concerned, I'm against the zoning bylaw amendment for 99 Simcoe Road. This proposed 9-unit condo complex does not fit within the single dwelling family homes on either side of the road and will contribute to heavier traffic in an already congested area. So the property is currently a vacant existing lot of record. Surrounded land uses are mostly residential. You have village residential properties on the north side of the property. And then you have village residential 6, which is a similar zoning to this property on the east and west. And then to the south, there is a larger tract of land that's vacant, and it is rural and natural area protection. Properties on the northern side of the street permit multiple dwellings, whereas the properties on the east and west have that VR6, which is that single family dwelling. And I wanted to raise as well, as in light too with this comment here with the 9-unit condo. So additional residential units are permitted as of right on an urban parcel of land. So as long as they're not in floodplain. So properties in Lagoon City, because they are fully serviced with municipal water and sewer, are considered urban parcels of land. So Section 16(3) of the Planning Act says that no official plan can prohibit the allowance of 2 additional residential units on an urban parcel of land for a single detached, semi-detached, or a townhome parcel. So that would be 1 dwelling plus 2 additional residential units. So you are allowed to have 3 units in total on each fully serviced parcel of land in a settlement area. So the property is designated settlement in the County of Simcoe official plan and is designated village in the Township of Ramara official plan and village residential in the interim secondary plan for Lagoon City. And the property is zoned village residential 6. Report BP 0725 reviews planning policy in depth as it relates to the application. The report concludes that the amendment has demonstrated regard for matters of provincial interest under the Planning Act, consistency with the provincial planning statement, conformity with the county and township official plans and zoning bylaw. So I'll go through a somewhat brief review of each policy. Bear with me. So under the Planning Act, it states that councils need to have regard for decisions under the Planning Act for matters of provincial interest. In this case, I'd like to highlight adequate provisions of full range of housing, including affordable housing, the appropriate location of growth and development, promotion of development that is designed to be sustainable and to support public transit and to be oriented to pedestrians. So the application will result in an expanded range of housing. The development is proposed in a settlement area with full municipal water and sewer services, adding additional users to this system that has sufficient capacity. And the property has access to Simcoe Road and is close proximity to the Township Recreation Trail that goes into Brecon. The provincial planning statement, as you know, came into effect in October of 2024. So matters under the Planning Act need to be consistent with this policy. The Provincial Planning Statement 2024 directs municipalities to permit and facilitate all housing options required to meet the social, health, and economic well-being requirements of future and current residents. It also directs municipalities to permit and facilitate all types of residential intensification. This is very small, I'm sorry. Let's fix that for you. That's better. There you go. It also directs municipalities to promote densities for new housing, which effectively uses land infrastructure and supports the use of active transportation. Directs municipalities to, and it says shall, which is important because we have to do it. Support general intensification and redevelopment to support the achievement of complete communities, including providing for a range and mix of housing options. So the amendment will enable the intensification on the property, allowing for the introduction of new housing options within a previously developed area with a net increase in residential units. On to the County of Simcoe official plan. The official plan designates this property as settlement. Objectives in settlement include the focus of population growth, development of compact urban form that promotes efficient use of water and sewer, promotes healthy, complete urban and rural communities in proximity to amenities. Under the growth management policies, it states that settlement areas shall be the focus of population growth, vitality, and regeneration shall be promoted. Municipalities with more than one settlement area are directed to create a hierarchy of settlement areas in order to target growth appropriately. And it provides Ramara with a minimum intensification target of 20% within the built boundaries of each settlement area. So Lagoon City is a village settlement area in our hierarchy, which is above rural settlement area. And that's because we have services here. There's also enough land to promote growth and intensification. And this amendment proposes to increase the range and mix of housing and allows for a 22% increase in density within this section of land. The Township of Ramara official plan designates this property as a village settlement area. The settlement area, sorry, this is a bit of a repeat. The settlement area is designated based on the municipal water and sewer availability, size of residential population, an opportunity to accommodate planned growth within the existing designated lands. The purpose of this area is to accommodate major growth and development of mixed uses within the settlement area, and land uses include any dwelling type, home occupation use, and boarding or lodging house. Now, this property is within the interim secondary plan for Lagoon City. So some of our settlement areas have these sort of secondary plans associated with them. And so this is a special policy of 10.3.2.1. And it says that permitted uses shall be limited to residential dwelling units and shall include detached dwelling, townhouses, and low-rise apartment buildings. Cluster arrangement policies within the interim secondary plan state that medium and high density residential buildings shall be grouped in clusters rather than individual buildings being indiscriminately mixed with low density buildings. This is to avoid a steep gradation, think kind of Lego blocks where you have this tall one and then the low one, that kind of thing. Densities in the secondary plan state that single family densities are 7.4 to 12.4 units per hectare for low density. And medium density is townhomes and multi-units not exceeding 29.6 to 37 units per hectare. It's too low, too close. So the development. The development proposes a 2-story, 3-unit street-facing townhome on the subject property. So I did an evaluation of the densities in the area. So on the north side of Simcoe Road, within this stretch of land road, there's 9.27 units per hectare is the density on the north side. Currently on the south side of the road, we're showing 4.05 units per hectare. Once this property is intensified, it will increase the density within that area to 5.2 units per hectare, which is about a 22% increase in density. The character is maintained. There's no steep gradation or overshadowing expected as it's a 2-story townhome, and it demonstrates an appropriate intensification for the area. The Township of Ramara zoning bylaw currently permits just the VR6, which is the single family dwellings, and it does not permit multi-unit. The original request for the zoning bylaw amendment was to rezone the property just to straight village residential. But after speaking with the applicant, there were quite a few permitted uses within just residential, village residential that may not have quite met. So we discussed it and agreed that we would have the amendment say only townhouse multiple dwellings would be permitted on the property, which would allow 3 units based on the frontage that's there. And then we also included additional residential units as a permitted use because if we can't restrict them. So although in the VR6 right now, it doesn't say that they are allowed, they are as of right. So in order to make sure that this bylaw is consistent with the requirements in the Planning Act, we needed to ensure that additional residential units were listed as a permitted use. And then, of course, accessory uses are permitted as well. All other requirements in the village residential zoning are shown to be met. There's an increased minimum interior side yard setback for multiple dwelling units or townhomes of 4.5 meters, where a single family dwelling can go up to 1.5 meters from the lot line. So that's shown to be met. The rear yard is a minimum 7.5 meters, which they have lots of space. The front yard, again, is also 7.5 meters, but they've shown it quite a ways back to accommodate the parking, and it's fairly in line with the adjacent properties. And the parking also meets the zoning bylaw. So for a townhouse, you need to have 2 parking spaces, and then there's 1 parking space for every additional residential unit. This is reflective in our zoning bylaw, but also there is an Ontario regulation under the Planning Act that says you can't require more than 1 space for an additional residential unit for parking. So to address the public comments have been reviewed and assessed in the staff report. It is the opinion of staff that the character of the neighborhood is maintained. The increase in density is appropriate and meets the goals of the County of Simcoe official plan. The property, as I stated, is an urban parcel of land in a settlement area with full municipal services. There is adequate servicing available. Adequate parking is demonstrated. A traffic impact study was not required for the increase from a single family to 3 townhomes. Snow removal, service connections, parking configuration are all reviewed through the lot grading review through the building permit process. And all other setbacks have been shown to be achievable, including that 4.5 meter setback on the interior side yards. So in summary, the proposed amendment will permit a 3-unit street fronting townhome on the subject property. It has demonstrated consistency with the provincial planning statement and conformity to the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan, County of Simcoe official plan, Township of Ramara's official plan and zoning bylaw, and is supported by policy. The next steps would be based on the review of the application and subject to any comments received at today's meeting, that staff would recommend approval of the zoning bylaw amendment application. Staff would finalize the amendment and present to council for consideration at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Gerard Ratanarja, agent for 2490288 Ontario Inc. is present and will now have an opportunity to add anything further to the information provided. And there's a button right in front of you, Gerard.
Good morning, Mayor, Claire, members of council, and fellow residents. My name is Gerard Ratnaraja. I'm here today on behalf of 2490288 Ontario Inc. to present an application for amendment to the township's zoning bylaw. This application seeks to rezone 99 Simcoe Road from its current VR6 designation to allow for development of 3-unit street fronting townhome. The proposed building will have a ground floor area of 266.5 square meters and has been carefully designed to integrate seamlessly into the existing community while maintaining neighborhood's character. We strongly believe this development will be a valuable addition to community, offering thoughtful design housing that meets the needs of both young families and seniors. Thank you for your time and consideration. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. The public will now have an opportunity to speak. When providing your comments, please ensure you state your full name and address for the record. Anybody from the public wish to?
We do have Scott Prinz online.
Online? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Scott Prinz, and my wife and I are actually purchasing 103 on Friday. So I appreciate the opportunity to, submit via email to Jennifer Wendy's and my objections, and also to be able to call in this morning. I guess I'm still concerned with respect to the number of parking spaces that are going to be fronting onto Simcoe Road. In some instances, I'm hearing like 6 parking spots, and then in other instances, I think I'm hearing 9 parking spots and maybe 12 parking spots. So I just like full clarification. Exactly how many parking spots are going to be fronting Simcoe Road?
Got a question for you, Jen. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah, I can answer that question. So the site concept as shown right now shows 12 parking spots in total, which is the minimum requirement for the proposal.
So it's 12 parking spots on 30 meters with how much area between 99 and 103 Simcoe Road? What are we going to do with all the snow? 12 parking spots is a big lot area on 30 meters. Based on what's happened, we actually had to hire somebody to come in and take the snow away from our driveway this winter. So where's all that snow going to go? Because it's either got to go to the west or the east, and I don't want to have a 40-foot or a 50-foot pile of snow that I can't see driving out onto Simcoe Road.
Jen.
So the parking configuration itself, the site plan that was included with the zoning bylaw amendment is designed in such a way to demonstrate that the proposal can meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw. When the application comes in for its pre-permit lot grading review, the configuration of the parking, snow storage, those types of things are looked at in that case. There would be opportunity to perhaps move the house back a little bit to provide more yard at the front. But the amendment itself is to allow for the change in the number of units for the townhouses. And then those types of details would get reviewed at the technical building permit stage.
Okay. I'd also like to address, I'm not really sure how the character of the neighborhood, which Len addressed, which Dave addressed, and Wendy and I have addressed. I'm not really sure how it could be considered that this is within the character of the neighborhood. You know, if we're looking at adding nine units, and I don't ever remember seeing a sign put up on 103 Simcoe Road, with all due respect to the town. We were there on the weekend moving some stuff around, and I still don't ever remember seeing a sign that was put up on 103 Simcoe Road. We did receive notification, and I understand that we received adequate legal notification, and I appreciate Jennifer returning our calls. 3 townhomes is a lot different than 9 units. And so everybody was notified that it was 3 townhomes. But unless you physically phoned in or did some additional research, and I understand Doug Ford has changed all the planning, but I don't think any of the neighbors, until we started to talk, and I did try to get a few of the neighbors involved in this, I don't think people really understood that 3 townhomes translates into 9. Are these all short-term rentals, long-term rentals? Are they for sale? And who is going to rent 379 square feet? Because I just don't understand the financial aspect of who's going to rent 379 square feet, which is, I think, 2 of the units are that small. So I know I've said a few things here, and I apologize for kind of running on and rambling on, but those are, again, some of our concerns.
Jennifer, go ahead.
So I'll answer the ones that I can answer. I can't really speak to the ownership or rental, how that's
Yeah,
going.
I understand that. I'm hoping the owner can.
So just so I understand, 103 Simcoe Road, there would have been no sign posted on 103 Simcoe Road. The requirements under the legislation are that a sign is posted on the subject property. So there was a sign posted at 99 Simcoe Road. It was sort of on a bit of the hydro pole there. I had seen it in my site visit. So that was done properly, that we wouldn't, the applicant wouldn't have posted a sign onto your property. And
Sorry, I get the addresses mixed up every once in a while. My apologies.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, so there definitely was a sign posted on the property. And then the circulation is mailed out to property owners within 120 meters. And then obviously if there's a condo, then we ask them to post it. So you would have probably received the notice by mail. The second part with the 3 homes versus the 9 units. So every house on the south side of the street that is zoned village residential is permitted to have up to 3 units in total per property. So the fact that it's happening, it isn't necessarily part of the amendment in some ways, because every lot is entitled to those 3 units. So that's why it wasn't really included as part of the zoning bylaw amendment notice. The application is for 3 street fronting townhomes. That doesn't mean that everybody has to put the additional residential units in it. I just think that the developer was being transparent in this case by including it on the site plan to show that it could be accommodated. But so technically every property could be considered a 3-unit home, even yours.
Yeah,
And
and I do understand and appreciate that, but I'm just wondering how many people across Ontario actually understand. And the only reason I even phoned is that my wife and I currently reside in Oshawa, and the exact same thing is happening to us to the north of us in Oshawa, where the residential property was sold. The gentleman who bought the property went to town council and immediately applied for 3 units on a single family dwelling. And then it wasn't until we got to town council that it came out that he originally applied for 2 and then went back and applied for the 3rd, as is his right, as you've stated. So we kind of got blindsided. So that's the only reason I knew is that this is up to 9, and you confirmed that during our conversation. It just seems like an awful lot of intensification within what used to be a single family dwelling home. And I understand that the town council is bound by what the provincial government has legislated and forcing you to do. But I would ask that the property owner of 99 really consider whether or not 9 units is appropriate for this community. And what would he say if I bought the property beside him and immediately went to town council and was going to put 9 units beside his property? Because he's not living where I am. And I think I understand he has every right to do it, but I would like to know who is going to be renting there. Is it short term? Is it long term? Or are you selling these? Because short term rentals are totally different than long term rentals, which are totally different than I'm building these and I'm going to sell these.
Jen?
I guess Gerard, if you wanted to speak to that, I'm not sure. And then just a note for
Yeah.
short-term rentals, we do have a short-term rental bylaw. So if there was going to be a short-term rental, I'm actually not even sure if short-term rentals can happen in townhomes. I'd have to check with John Popple on that. But anyways, that's.
As far as short term, I think we're not in that. This is not for short term. I can answer that clearly because I think the Airbnb doesn't even work. It has to be 300 meters between every house. So we have no plan to run a short-term rental, period. As far as who's going to be living in there? People. There is nothing I can control. We're going to spend all this money. Are we going to take care of the property? Yes. And we have already a lot of challenges to get a building up. What is the numbers going to work as far as reducing the number of units? It's really something that we can't even do a project like this. So short term, it's not something that we're doing. And as far as we're selling or renting, it's too early to say. We haven't even gone that far. And as far as the size of the units, the reason we have it like that, it kind of gives a mixture. People with, they need a 1-bedroom. So we do have a bachelor's that's on a walkable level. A senior can move in and live. And then there are 2 or 3 2-bedrooms. And so it has a mixture of housing on that with access. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. Any other questions? I'm just waiting for the public, not hearing any at this time. So then I will go to council now and say any questions from council. Councillor Snodge.
Just for clarification, are you planning on building the building to allow for the rental units now, or so you're only selling off 3 townhouses, correct?
I'm not selling any.
No, but you will eventually
Yeah.
sell off 3 townhouses.
I don't think so. We may not even.
Oh, you rent
eventually
them off
sell.
or something.
I may even rent them, but it's really too early.
So in other words, you'll be constructing them to be rentals.
They're purpose-built rentals.
Pardon?
Purpose-built for rental.
Got it.
To provide access for people to live whatever rooms and houses, but they're not rooming houses. They're all units, additional units to existing townhomes.
So if you sold the property, you'd have to sell all the units, not just the one unit, the one townhouse you couldn't sell?
Not necessarily, because of the part lot control will allow a townhouse to be sold, I think, but town can confirm.
I believe they could be sold as
Yeah.
individual houses, yes.
That's the whole
Okay,
purpose
that
of a
was my
part lot
question. Thank you.
control exemption is. But it's really too early for us because we're really in the early process, but we know that our intention is to keep and rent.
You
Mr. Mayor, can I
comment,
ask-
Wally? Well, hang on, sir, comment, Wally, and then I.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify that there are 3 separate lots. So they can only be sold as 3 separate lots, not 12 individual units. They could be sold as 3 separate lots, and each lot could have up to 3 units on each lot.
Did I hear a voice online?
Yeah, that was me, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, it's
Yes.
Scott Prinz again. If I could just ask one question with respect to the grading. So are you planning to backfill and level off to road, or are you going to have a steep driveway and then the back lot of the property is fairly flat? Is that where you're actually going to build, and you'll have the driveways on the downslope?
Go ahead, Gerard, if you
Yeah.
can answer that.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep the property and maintain it the way it is as much as possible. So that will include bringing the frontage. The driveway should be in line pretty much with the road. And the sides would just follow the existing grading that is already there. So will not require an actual retaining wall or anything. It is still a little early, but that's kind of what we're looking at because we don't really want to bring in fill. We want to take what's coming out of there to use it for the front of the building. So the parking is not dropped in. The building is not sinking. It sits kind of in line with the other houses and the road. So that's kind of our plan is. And also there is a possibility that having that 4.5 meters or more on both sides, if there is a big snow, it could be pushed back through the side, not with the normal snow plower, but it can be moved. And there is pretty much 29.7 meters from the Lake Simcoe Conservation's land to the property in the back setback.
Okay, thank you. Question for myself, I guess. So on the north side of the road, it's 9 units per hectare. Is that what's existing now? And on this side, I want to make sure I heard this correctly. With this application, will be up to 5?
That's correct.
Okay, so the land on the north side, the residential, but north of that, what is it zoned? Is it zoned NAP or is it zoned for future development?
Sorry, the land on the north side of the lots on the north,
Yes,
directly across, oh, that's a park.
that's the park, is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any other questions from council? I'm not seeing any. So if any person wishes to receive notice of the passing of the amendment, please forward your address and phone number by email to the Township Planning Department at planning@ramara.ca or complete the sign-in sheet at the door. If you do not provide your full address, you may not receive notice. The township is the approval authority for zoning bylaw amendment applications. Members of the public who have provided oral or written submissions with respect to the application may be eligible to appeal or participate in an appeal of the decision of the council of the Township of Ramara. This concludes the second and final public meeting, and comments from the public or council, if noted, will now be considered before making a decision on this matter. Thank you. So back to do you want these motions passed then now, Jen, 4.1 and 4.2? Yes. So now back to our council agenda. The report BP 0625 titled Public Meeting Report Zoning Bylaw Amendment File. Z7/24 dated March 17th, 2025 be received, and that subject to any new comments received at the public meeting, staff be directed to finalize the draft zoning bylaw amendment with the applicant for the consideration at the next available council meeting. This was the first application. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Bell. So this was the one in Udny. Everybody understands? All in favor? Oh, yes, comment? Yes,
Does
before.
that include the staff report on the film?
We'll get a report back on where the fill is.
Just to get some clarification, are you looking for a full staff report or would you like us to just reach out to?
Confirmation,
Okay, sure.
yeah, that there's no fill on this particular lot. Yeah. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And the second one, that report BP 07-25 titled Public Meeting Zoning Bylaw Amendment File Z1/25 be received. And that subject to any comments received at the public meeting, staff will be directed to finalize this draft zoning bylaw amendment for consideration at the next available council meeting. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Everybody, that's the second one. So you've got to answer some questions and get us a report and it'll come to the next available meeting, correct? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And then last, I have that the bylaw 2025-16, a bylaw confirmed the proceedings at the special council meeting held on March 17th, 2025 be considered read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor? That is carried. And now that we now adjourn at 10:20 a.m. until March 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Bell. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everybody.